Welcome to the Live in Color podcast, where we explore healthy living with real food, real passion, and real cool people. I'm your host, Amber Benson, the co-founder of Ruby, where our mission is to crush nutritional deficiency with the planet's purest source of nutrition, fruits and vegetables. Welcome, podcast listeners, to another episode. We have Stephanie Reed with us, and Stephanie creates amazing content on her channel, The Salt Project, featuring topics like exploring Utah, staycations, adventures, date nights, hikes, family fun, and lots of other things. Stephanie is a homeschool mom of 5 littles. Together, they explore Utah top to bottom to find the latest and greatest family fun and share everything on the Salt Project. Stephanie exemplifies living in color, and we can all learn from her ways to find more color in our lives. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me.
And you go by Steph or Effie or Stephanie, lots of names. I love it.
Yeah, whatever. I'll answer it.
I actually think that speaks a lot to you. It just shows that you're like, yeah, give it to me. I'll go by whatever you want to call me, and I'll love it.
Yep.
Go with it.
Yep.
So,
picky.
Tell us, first of all, I would love to hear about your business, the Salt Project, and how you got started.
Okay, so it's kind of a twofold story. I am from Utah, born and raised, and then when I got married, we moved to Dallas for 7 years, and we abruptly moved back. I did not see that coming, but we came back, and I realized that we really didn't 7 years in a new place, and we really didn't see a lot of it. Like, we kind of went to the same place, the same parks, the same restaurants, just kind of did the same thing, right? We got comfortable. And then because we left so quickly, like, I just thought, oh, next time, next month, next year, right? And then all of a sudden we were back in Utah, and I was like, oh, I kind of feel like I wasted some of my time. Now, I was a young mom, and I didn't have family, and I had lots of little kids. So I had nap times, and, we were home a lot, but also I feel like I didn't really push myself to get out there and explore and really see what Dallas had to offer. We just kind of stayed in a comfortable place, and just kind of did the same things. So there's that side of it. And then when we moved back here to Utah, this was my first time living in Utah with kids. So we moved back to Utah, and now I have a small family. So the last time I lived here, I was a kid myself. And now moving back with kids, I was like, what is there to do with kids? I had no idea. And so I felt like I'm asking myself this question. And I thought, well, if I'm asking myself, I bet other moms are also asking themselves too. Like, what do we do with these children? What is there to do? So we started just documenting our journey. We'd go on field trips and discover new parks. And I just wanted to share with whoever else might also be interested. I've always documented our life. I've always loved photography, and just documenting every little moment. It brings me so much joy. So as I was naturally doing that anyway, Instagram kind of was created, and we just started sharing there. And that was about it. We just thought we would share what we were doing. But then our account really started growing, and I was like, oh, lots of other people are interested in what we're doing here, what we're sharing. So we just continue to do that. And I really I'm doing what I love. I love exploring. I love doing new things. I love making memories with my kids, and I love documenting it. So whether I was doing this for a business or not, I would still be doing it.
Do it.
It's because that's what I do. That's what I love. And then another kind of side story goes along with that is when we moved back, we didn't have a lot of money to go travel and go see all these amazing places. And then I really started thinking about it, and I was like, people come from all over the world to come to Utah. And so many people in Utah have never been to Antelope Island. They've never been to the Mighty Five. They've never been to a lot of our state parks. Um, and so I was like, we have no excuses. We live in one of the coolest states in the country. Why don't we just start, exploring? We don't have to fly to another state or to another country. We have something amazing right here in our own backyard. And that really pushed me to go out and explore things that I normally wouldn't have done. So it's just kind of been this like full circle, you know, live in the moment. You don't know if tomorrow you're moving or, you know, you're not going to be with your loved ones anymore. And so it's all about like um living each day to the fullest, making bucket list, actually checking things off and making memories, documenting them. And yeah, you don't have to go far to see amazing things and have amazing experiences with your family. And you don't have to spend a lot either. There's so much stuff for free.
So much stuff for free. My husband and I just got back from a trip to Scotland, and it was a trip of a lifetime. It was beautiful. It was amazing. It was everything I wanted it to be. And I went when I was a kid. I was really targeting to come back and visit. And so I was lucky to get to do that with my husband. And I said to him, why don't we do this? Meaning like go explore beauty more often at home.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, we just got to do it. We just have to make sure we do it. Our weekends are busy because we both work. And so it's like trying to, get all of the chores done on the weekends, and nights are busy with kids and football and all sorts of things. So life does get in the way, but I feel like if we just sat down and planned our lives better, then we would be able to do a lot of those things.
Yep, I agree 100%. And I feel like that's what kind of happened in Dallas.
Yes.
Like, we'd go on those field trips and go do things, especially if people were coming to visit. We would take them to see all the sites, but day to day, we didn't make it a priority to go explore somewhere new and to really see what was available.
Yeah. And Utah is incredible. I mean, it's probably my poor kids. I say it 5 or 6 times a week. Look where we live. Like we are right at the base of, we see the mountains. We're in Utah County, so we see Timpanogos in its glory and the White Mountain and Cascade Mountain. And it is so breathtakingly beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last few nights have been these sunsets that just really, it is spectacular. And I remember I was at a football game one time, BYU football game, and I was talking to somebody who was in town visiting, and he said, I said, if you do one thing, because he had just kind of drove in and come into the stadium, and I said, walk up to the top of that stadium and look at the mountain. And it was this time of year, so the red scrub oak was on fire, beautiful. Not on fire, but on fire in color. It looked so amazing. And yeah, we get to live here and get to go explore. Yes. So what was I think you've talked about your motivation, but was there anything like a deeper, maybe soul need, a need for you to go do this? What was your motivation to start doing it?
Yeah, there was that kind of urgency because we left Dallas so abruptly. I was just like, life is precious. We never know when our last day is, and we really need to make the most of every day and make those memories with our kids. And then like I was raised in a small business. So every person that walked in that door and purchased something from our business was like putting food on my table. And it was just such a beautiful experience to see like we're serving our community and our community is blessing us, right? And so that's always been like such a tender place in my heart, like small businesses and community and support. And so when we started doing this and started sharing different adventures, we also kind of simultaneously started sharing small businesses too. Because if we're going to that park, then we're going to need somewhere to eat, and we're going to need, go to this museum. And all these different activities kind of support each other, right? With restaurants or with like date night activities. If you're
Places you stay, I noticed too. I feel
yes,
like they're like
vacations.
these ma and pa like resorts or lodges or wherever that aren't maybe necessarily the Marriott, and maybe you're there sometimes, but it's really some interesting places that you find that I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That would be so cool to go support and stay.
Yes, just super unique and usually small business or locally owned, family owned places. And to be able to support them and like shout their praises, let people know that they're there, and then to see our community of like salt project families go and support these these places, and they want that experience. They want to go see the poppies and then stop by and get the peach shakes and the have that whole experience of this small town, um you know this small town experience that
Yeah.
maybe they wouldn't get going to McDonald's or some other like franchise, that they've been there their whole life.
Yeah.
But they go, we share this experience, and then they go do the exact same thing. And they're like, this is a tradition for our family now. And everyone had an amazing experience. It was so unique. But they're also supporting all those small businesses that had that vision too, that they wanted to share. Like, hey, we want this experience. And they put their heart and soul into this business idea, and then are able to share it and make just such cool experiences for people. I just think it's like the coolest full circle thing. Like,
Yeah. Community.
people following their passion serves everyone else, because then we get to enjoy this delicious food or this beautiful music or these amazing experiences just because someone was like, I want to make this and I want it like available for other people
Yeah.
to enjoy.
I love it. And I love that, yes, you are a service to people like me who live in this community. So I can find inspiration going to your channel and seeing, oh, this is an area we should target on our next weekend or the next weeknight that we have extra time. What about people who maybe aren't from Utah? How did you get started to like find those gems, those really cool places to go visit and experience? If somebody, a listener, is not from here, how do they get started in enjoying life more like you do?
Well, if they are looking for things to do, I have a blog, I have my Instagram, and they can get ideas. I have a map on there, and you can just click on location, and it'll show you restaurants and hikes and activities, all these fun things. And if they're just in their own state or own location and they're looking for things to do, I think it's putting it into action. So maybe making a bucket list, start writing things down that you want to do, and that's going to be your focus. So then it's like maybe every week you check off something, and then you're actively looking, you're finding things on Instagram like, oh, that hike is so cool, keep scrolling. No, like, oh, that hike is so cool, I'm writing that down on my list, I'm going to do that hike. And so it's really just like that second step is to putting it into action, making it a priority, and then actually maybe, like you said, setting aside a day to go and do it. Like Mondays, all summer, Monday was our adventure day.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a list of things that we just wanted to do this summer. Some were new things, some were just traditions and some of our favorite items. And every Monday we just picked one. We're like, oh, it's hot today, we're doing one of our water bucket list items. And today we're going to do, whatever, it didn't matter. But we set aside that day, and we knew we were waking up, packing food, putting our swimsuits on, and we would be gone all day doing something amazing. And it was like the most fun we've had in years.
That's such a great idea, because a lot of times I feel like I spring things on my kids, and my kids they're teenagers or now young adults. And it's like, we're doing what? Like, well, you didn't tell me, and I've got plans. And so having that day set aside, this is our family day to go do this adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Such a great idea.
Yeah, we called it forced family fun because I've been doing the SALT project for 10 years. So my kids, this is their life. Like their whole childhood has been like field trips and adventures and hikes and vacations. And it was great because they were little kids and we just did what we did.
Yeah.
Now I'm like I have more teenagers than little kids, and they have their own interests,
Yeah.
and some kids don't like to do things that I like to do. So it's nice to sit down together and make a list, and we just, maybe everyone wants to do this except one person. Well, that one person can just join and, suck it up for a day, but then they know next week they get to go do something that's on their list, right? And really the most important thing is, we know we can do hard things. You might not like hiking, but you can do it, and you can prove to yourself that you can do hard things and we still have fun no matter what. We're making memories together. And yeah, just focusing on like the memories and the together time. And we have, every time we go on a trip, especially, something awful happens. And my kids like look forward to it because it makes the best stories. And we laugh and laugh about it for years. And we can just go back and be like, oh, yeah, remember this? And now it's just like inside jokes all the time. So stuff happens. And I do try to share a lot of that stuff on like social media. I'm not like, oh, here's our beautiful vacation and here's a beautiful sunset. Oh, no. I'm like, yeah, missed the flight, booked one kid on the wrong flight. Someone got stung by a Portuguese man of war. We haven't slept in 48 hours. Like some kids throwing up. I share everything because that's reality.
Yeah.
That's life. And it's okay. It doesn't mean we had a bad trip. It means we made some really good memories and we will never forget that vacation.
Oh, I love that because you're right, especially traveling with kids, inevitably something is going to happen, right? And or one kid's having a terrible, day or whatever it is. I go back and look at photos and we've drug our kids around the world traveling, and two of my children, the same age range, maybe at 5 or 6, taking them on, and the looks on their face in every photo until noon is just this, like, what have you done to me? And they're so, even Disneyland, we went to Euro Disney, and my sweet daughter, it was like 7 days into this trip, she was exhausted and she was so grumpy until about noon. And then I think she kind of woke up enough to be like, oh my gosh, we're at Disneyland and I can have fun. But yeah, it can be challenging, but the memories are there.
Yes. And so many opportunities to learn because you ultimately are in charge of your own happiness, right? And so, yeah, and because we homeschool, so it's just like every moment is a teaching moment.
Yeah.
It's a building character moment and a, opportunity to serve. And, we just try to incorporate all of it.
Fantastic. Love it. So I love your date night series. And I don't know if you call it a series, but you showcase date nights quite often. How do you find your ideas? I feel like couples struggle with this, right? It's like, okay, what should we watch tonight? Right? It's like the same thing over and over again. How do you find the unique and the clever ideas?
So it's kind of like when I first started my blog, we were doing the same thing. We were going the same places, same restaurants, and it's comfortable and you know what to expect, and that's great. But when you push yourself to start looking for unique opportunities, that's where we've really had made the most memories and had the most fun as a family. And so I really just wanted to focus on that same idea with date nights. I don't like going to the same restaurant and ordering the same thing because I do it all the time. Like, it's just so comfortable. I'm like, oh yeah, just go here. We'll go to my favorite place and I know what to order and I know it's going to be good and I don't have to worry. But when we push ourselves outside of our comfort zone, something happens, and being uncomfortable can, maybe lead you to a bad experience, which you can laugh about later, which adds value to your life, right? Or you can find out that you like something new and you're so glad that you tried this new thing. So I have this example where one of my favorite hikes of all time, it is just the most magical, beautiful hike. Um, I always did the same little loop trail and it just kind of ends. And it was beautiful and great. It goes around this little pond. And then one day I went a little farther. I knew that the trail just ended there. But one day I like looked over the edge and the city had like come in and put like wood steps
Mm.
down and like made this trail go all the way around the pond. So now it's a loop instead of just out and back. And I take this loop and it was so this is the magic. The first trail was beautiful. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. And I'm like, it's like the Narnia trail. Okay. You have like this desert area, you have ferns and woods and bridges, and it's just so beautiful. And I'm like, what if I had never looked over that edge? And I had always just been like, oh yeah, that's where the trail ends, the end. But because I tried something new, I pushed myself, went out of my comfort zone, looked over, and I was like, I just discovered the best thing ever. And if I had never tried, pushed myself forward, I would still be doing that little out and back, it's a good trail, whatever. So you never know what you're gonna be missing if you don't at least try once, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know where we get the ideas. The internet, random, people tell me about stuff. But we just try to go do, something new and try new things and go new places and make
Well,
memories, have fun.
Google Maps is amazing. I don't know if you use Google Maps, but when I planned our Scotland trip, I would just kind of see the direction we wanted to go, and then I'd zoom in, and up on the map starts to pop, and you can even say attractions or you can say restaurants, and it'll start to pop up those things in the path that you're traveling.
Mhm.
And in Scotland, it's like, oh, every 50 miles, there's just a castle, right? So, and then you can kind of go and read a little bit about it by clicking on it. And it was, again, why don't I do that at home? Because there are so many hidden gems that maybe I just haven't opened up Google Maps and zoomed in and tried to explore.
Right.
So love it. The other thing that you reminded me of, I read a study one time that said when we do the same things over and over again, even like our drive to work or our drive to the gym, you go the same way every time, your brain starts to develop those pathways that then that's all your brain is using, and the rest of it starts to actually degrade.
Mm.
And it creates aging early. It creates problems down the road with our ability to use our brain because we've only used it in one way. And I believe it's the same with our experiences. If we're just going to the same restaurant every night and doing the same routine every single day in our lives, then our brain actually starts to atrophy and we start to utilize less and less of our brain that then will be harder to open up later. So I love your story
Yeah.
of looking over the edge and finding something new. It's scary sometimes.
Mhm.
Go and do new things. And I'm sure there's a little bit of like, oh, we're going to do this thing today that I have never done, and I'm bringing my kids, and there's like maybe a little stress and worry involved in it. How do you overcome that?
Well, I feel like I have to find balance between because there are certain things that are just tradition. Like you have to go to Bear Lake every summer, or you have to go get shakes at this place. Like there's certain things you just look forward to and love. But there is so much beauty and fun in that unknown, right? Okay, we've never been here before. We're gonna try it out. You don't know what to expect. And most of our adventures over the last 10 years have just been me and my 5 kids. My husband was working full time and I wanted to go explore. I wanted to go out and he was, oftentimes he would come home after an hour commute and just be exhausted, really. So during our days, we would just go out and I had babies. I hiked Canaryville Falls with, you know,
Yeah.
4 little kids and a nursing baby and we weren't very prepared, but we were fine. Everything worked out. That's another funny thing is I am probably the least prepared person that I actually know. I just am like fly by the seat of my pants, like, "Ooh, that looks fun. Let's go." you know? And and probably that's why we have so many mishaps and different things, but like I said, like that just makes it that much more memorable. But yeah, just go out and it's just fun to push yourself and go try new things. I challenge everyone to, like, next week, just be like, hey, blindfold yourself, whatever, pick a spot on the map and be like, all right, let's go. What are we
Yes.
waiting for? You know?
Okay, I'm taking your challenge. I'm going to do it.
Hey, I might actually do it too. Let's
Nice.
do it together. Okay.
Nice. Okay. So you're a professional traveler. You take your kids with you everywhere. Tell me about how your nutrition. How do you, because that can be a struggle when you're traveling. And then if your gut is upset, you can't even enjoy yourself. So what are your go-tos? What do you do to try to keep your nutrition up or just keep your gut regulated when you're traveling?
We try to, since we do eat at a lot of restaurants, especially like on vacations and different things, we do try to bring food whenever possible. So if we're staying in an Airbnb, which is our preferred way for lodging, try to bring food from home just so that we can eat things that are healthier and things that we're used to. I had the crazy idea to start making bread this year. And like, I was just like, I'm not going to buy bread anymore. Bread used to have like 4 ingredients. Now it has 20. And I was like, that's something we eat every day. And that's something that I can make.
Yeah.
And so we just I just stopped buying it. I just don't order it anymore. And I've been making bread since January. It is now
Nice.
September. It's amazing. My kids can make bread. Like if we're out, I'm not there. They're like, all right, I'm making bread today. So that's one thing. We always have homemade bread available. And then we really do eat a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. Love roux. My kids love smoothies, and that's so easy to just throw in when we don't have access to fresh fruits. Like during winter, there's limited fresh vegetables, no gardens. Who knows what you're getting at the grocery store? But yeah, that's a nice supplemental idea. But really, I don't buy a lot of prepackaged snacks. And so my kids, it's like you can have a piece of cheese, a piece of bread, or anything on the counter, which is whatever's coming out of our garden. Or we have like a farm box that we get in the summer.
Love it.
And it's just full of fruits and vegetables. And I'm like, you can have free access to that any time of day, which helps. And then we also have, we've had a family garden for years. And so the kids are seeing where their food comes from. They're planting the seeds, they're pulling the weeds, and then we get to watch the garden explode as the months go on, right? And then there's just something so magical about like picking food and knowing that it came from a tiny seed that you planted. It blows my mind every single time. And I think that's like a huge motivator too for kids to be invested in, like, I grew this is mine.
Yeah.
Of course I'm going to be eating it, right?
Yes.
And then we have fruit trees too that the kids love to go pick and eat and sell. They have a little produce stand that they've been selling.
I need to come find it. You're too far from me, but that's amazing. Yeah,
it's fun.
Anytime I go out to, and this year I didn't plant my own garden, but my brother-in-law who lives next door planted the garden. So I still go out and eat the fresh produce.
Oh, so nice.
I go out and I'll grab the little tomatoes and eat them. And I just think that is the best thing I will do for my body today.
Yeah. Also the best tasting, like a tomato from a garden.
Yes.
Is my favorite thing ever.
Tomatoes from the garden, they actually are it doesn't even resemble what is in the store, except for what it looks like, right?
Yeah, I can't, like, it hurts me to buy tomatoes.
Yes.
They don't taste good.
They don't taste good. I read something recently where they're experimenting with injecting tomato flavor into store-bought tomatoes, which is wrong on so many fronts.
Why?
I love the garden. And when you think about homeschooling, what better thing to teach your child than where food comes from and how to grow food and what comes as a result of the foods that you put into your body. And I love that you're involving your kids in that whole process. That's so incredible.
Oh, they're obsessed with, have you heard of Bobby Approved?
No.
I don't know. It's an app. There's an app. I think there's a YouTube channel. I don't know.
Love it.
But this guy that just shares food that is good for you. My kids are obsessed. So they're walking around scanning things at the grocery store. They're like, this is not good. That's not good. And so they're kind of like on their own health journey to see, because of course, if I told them
Yeah.
eat your vegetables, they'd be like, no. But if Bobby is like,
Yes.
this stuff is awful, it has preservatives and red dyes, and they're like, oh no, we're not eating that.
Yeah.
So that's been fun that they've kind of been raised with a garden and have that, like, they know that's so good for you, and they can feel that that's good for them, and they can feel when they're eating junk food. And thank you, Bobby, for
Yes.
being an outside, person that I guess can look up to and listen to, um, for inspiring them to really put good things in their bodies. And we still eat garbage every once in a while,
For
but
sure.
day to day, like, they're very aware of what foods are good for us and are going to make us feel our best.
Well, I love that the options you give your kids. You're hungry? We'll go eat one of those Whole Foods, or the bread you make. It's like 4 ingredients, basically a whole food, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of times I hear my kids, there's nothing to eat. I'm like, did you open the produce drawer? There's actually a lot to eat that we have
Yeah.
in our fridge. Just go look for it. It might not be in a package. It might just be an apple or
Yeah.
a
And
cucumber.
if you buy the package, they're going to eat that. It's beautiful. It's decorative. Like, it looks nice. It's just so enticing, right? But if you don't have that in your home, then they're going to see other things that are more enticing. Like, oh, do I want some
Yeah.
flour or this beautiful peach?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take the peach. Or, like, I don't know what you would compare it to, but yeah, here's some ingredients. I don't want to make anything, but this apple is ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful and delicious, and it grew on our tree. How awesome is that?
The other day I was driving and thought, I have not had a fresh off the tree apple yet. And I don't know if they're in season yet.
Yeah, they are.
They are? Oh,
Mhm.
okay. I'm going to go find a fruit stand because it's the best. It's like a tomato. When you eat an apple that's been freshly picked, it actually tastes so different
Yeah.
and amazing. And
Yes.
there's a little bit of tart and the sweet, and it actually creates this memory, this nostalgia in me that is like, what is that feeling I'm having? And I can't even put a finger on it, but it's coming from the food.
Yeah. It's probably from when you were a kid and ate real apples that hadn't been injected with preservatives and stuff.
And apples on average are 9 months old because they're only harvested once a year. So if you're
Mhm.
eating an apple in June, then it was picked the year before because it hasn't been ripened yet this year. And so, yes, apples are actually old when we're eating them from the grocery store.
That's why I really try not to buy, like, I try to get everything in season. And
Yes.
if I can, locally or from like Ma Pa, fruit stands and stuff, or our own garden,
Yeah.
because it does taste better and it's fresh, and there's not, who knows what
Yeah.
in or on it.
Yep. Love that. So tell me, since we're talking about food, we like to ask everybody this, what is one of your earliest food memories?
So, speaking of tomatoes, I distinctly remember I was probably 3 or 4, and my mom had a little garden in our little house in Ogden, our first house that we lived in. And I remember going back and playing in the garden in my little sandbox and just eating fresh tomatoes like apples. I would just grab a tomato and I would just take bites out of it and I think she brought salt out. I remember sprinkling salt and just being covered in tomato juice. And it was just the best thing I had ever had. Like,
Uh,
but that's my first memory.
Love it. That
And
actually gave me chills.
really,
Yes, it was so great.
and I still like a garden tomato. Like, our tomatoes did not do well this year, but I have my best friend's mom keeps bringing me bags of tomatoes from her garden, and every single one, I am just like, oh, I'm so grateful. And there is just like, oh, they just taste so good. That's my favorite thing ever. But yeah, that's my earliest memory that I can think of like eating.
Food. Love
Yeah.
it. So you have, I feel like, cracked the code of finding color in your life. You do it through the outdoors, through new experiences, through travel, through family. What is your advice for people? How do you feel you found color in your life?
Oh, I think even as a young kid, we were never, we didn't do a lot as a family. We did a lot together. We made a lot of memories together. We were always together, working together. But as far as like adventuring, we might like go to the beach once for summer, our summer like adventure day. It'd be like, kids, today we're going to the beach. Or it was the dam. It was the dam. We're going to the dam. And I'm like, okay, we're leaving home. All right, we're we're gonna go do something for the day. And those experiences made such an impact on my life. I remember the first day I went to the river. I remember one summer my mom took us kids and the neighbor with their kids, and we went to this spot. It was like the Ogden River. And I remember she just let us like float down. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. It's like a water slide in nature, It's like blew my mind. And I still have those memories like ingrained. So I think those memories, like core memories for me, brought so much joy and happiness, and they were just such cool experiences. I've always just kind of gravitated to nature and the beauty and the peace. I just feel like so, it just recharges me. So I love being outside. Like that's one requirement in our home is you have to go outside every day. You have to move your body and get sunshine and, go do. And you get to choose what that activity is, but you have to go outside. And I just feel like it's just so important. But there's just so much to see and there's so much to do. And I feel like especially in today's world with, devices and everyone's looking down. And I've read so many scary statistics of how many hours we are consuming on TVs and video games and phones. And it is scary. And if you just like don't do anything about it, you're going to wake up one day and say, wow, where did my life go?
Yeah.
And what did I do? And I didn't make memories with my family. And we only get one chance to raise our family and to make those memories. We only get one chance to date our spouse and, build that relationship. And you don't know when that's, if you keep saying, oh, next weekend, next month, that's never going to happen, right? So my advice would be to put it on the calendar. Let's all just go put on adventure day on the calendar, and whatever that looks like. You don't have to spend money. There are hundreds, thousands of parks that I've never even been to still, right? There's parks and there's hikes and there's lakes and reservoirs and museums. So many museums have free days. There are festivals and different events that are happening all the time. And that's one thing too. I remember when social media first started, I would see people post about these cool things. And I'm like, what?
I just missed that. Yeah.
How did you know about it? Like,
Yeah.
how are we supposed to know about this stuff? And so that's one thing we try to do too, is let people know what's coming up so that they can add that to their calendar and not just see other people there, but actually plan for it and be able to go themselves and experience it and make those memories.
Love it. Stephanie, you've been awesome. It's been so inspiring to talk to you. Tell our listeners where they can find you.
So online, it's saltproject.co. Instagram is saltproject.co. I think Facebook, I don't know. It's maybe the Salt Project. I don't know. I'm not on Facebook a ton. But yeah, I think Instagram and my website are the two best places for getting the most information.
Great. Thanks again. It's been wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.